Yesterday you saw the black-chinned sparrow go out as our birdie of the day. Today we're going to jump in to another quick bird. This one only took me one guess, and you'll see in a moment why. So here's today's birdie of the day from July 16th.
Behold the birdie of the day. It's the birdie of the day.
This birdie of the day, quick one for me. I did use the sound. I did include the sound today just to be sure what I saw. So this back is pretty distinct to me. Now this is a bird I see in my yard somewhat frequently and have a good amount of experience with. Also one of my favorite birds. So I knew it pretty quick. But let's talk about what I saw. That particular color, that to me shouts a very certain group of birds. Also, it appears, and if you can tell that that is the wing, then what it appears like is the bird's doing that. Okay, so we've got a couple of clues here. We've got a field mark, we've got a behavior, and then there's even some context. You see this back here? In my mind, I thought, well, that looks like ponderosa pine bark. That just looks, when I see something that orangey in a photo with a bird, that just looks like ponderosa pine bark. So what did I assume? I assumed this was a bird on a ponderosa pine tree. Why is that important? Well, this particular bird that I got in one guess is a bird that is a lover of ponderosa pine trees. That's where you find them almost exclusively. So this was a Pygmy Nuthatch. I got it in one. That kind of slaty gray black, it takes you into the nuthatches. Maybe some of the chickadees can show a little bit of the titmice, things like that. But this darker slaty gray back that's not as exuberantly colored, it's not as bright as, say, the red-breasted nuthatch or the white-breasted nuthatch, to me immediately just shouted this was a pygmy. And then including that orange bark in the background, which shouts ponderosa. Well, not that you don't see Pygmy nuthatches on non-ponderosa trees. However, that's typically where they're found, is in big, mature stands of ponderosas. So I used the context. I used what I thought was some behaviors. I thought this was the wing here, and it was pointed backwards. So I thought this was a bird kind of pointed down. I used all of that in my guess, and then the sound. When I heard that sound, I knew that little pip pip sound that they make, little squeaky toy sound. And when you hear a big flock of them moving through the forest, especially in wintertime when they're in bigger groups, it's pretty adorable. Just a bunch of little squeaks out in the woods. So there we go. There is our birdie of the day from July 16th. Real quick, some other tips for identifying the Pygmy Nuthatch. I shouldn't have jumped away so soon. So how do you identify the Pygmy Nuthatch versus the others? Well, while the Pygmy Nuthatch can have this kind of resiny colored breast, it's not nearly as orange or pink or buffy as the red-breasted nuthatch. Also the facial pattern. The red-breasted nuthatch has white in that facial pattern, whereas the Pygmy Nuthatch, plain brown cap with a black mask. So right there, head pattern alone, you can separate red-breasted nuthatch from Pygmy Nuthatch. And then on the back of the head, there's a pale gray dot on the back of almost every single Pygmy Nuthatch's head. Also useful in separating the red-breasted nuthatch from the back, red-breasted nuthatch from the Pygmy Nuthatch. Now, separating it from the brown-headed nuthatch, there are ways, but honestly, you are just likely to never come across them in similar habitats. Brown-headed nuthatch hangs out in the southeastern U.S. in longleaf pine, big mature stands of longleaf pine, and Pygmy Nuthatch, ponderosa pine, out in the Rocky Mountain West. Highly unlikely ever have to worry about coming across them side by side. But if you do, look in the head. The brown-headed nuthatch, called as such because of that beautiful, rich brown head color. Now that was our birdie of the day for July 16th, and we will see you soon for July 17th's birdie of the day. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and then you'll get notified every time one of these new birdies of the day jumps up. And make sure to support the birdie of the day at birdiegame.net. Visit there, play the game, and then if you have the ability to support the creator of the game, I'm sure they would appreciate it greatly.
That was the birdie of the day, the birdie of the day.